Do you ever feel like a fraud, even though you're great at what you do? Most software engineers that I speak to feel this constant pressure to be a 10x developer, but deep down they're wondering if they're actually just even 0.1x in disguise. I'm Bago, former NASA dev and Fortune 500 manager who walked away from it all to build my very own 7-figure B2B consulting firm. Without funding, without virality, and without luck. And since then, I've helped dozens of software engineers go from feeling like they are imposters to fully booked with clients making over $50,000 a month. So in this video, I'm going to show you why imposter syndrome hits software engineers harder than most, the biggest lie making you feel like an imposter, and how to reframe your skills to 10x your income and command the respect that you deserve. So let's get started with the first point. It's critical for us to understand the game within the game to understand the first point. You see, winning in your career as a software engineer, just like winning in life, is all about hacking human psychology, specifically your own. And it boils down to one single principle: expectations versus reality. Your expectation right now is that you're a fraud, that you're not good enough. The reality is that you are far more valuable than you might think. When reality beats expectations, you feel good. You win. My goal in this video is to give you a new reality that so dramatically beats your current expectations that you fundamentally leave this video feeling transformed. So this is the black magic that makes all this stuff really work. So let's get into it. Why does imposter syndrome hit software engineers harder than almost any other profession on the planet? Well, to understand that, we have to expose why our field is such an anxiety machine. In 1999, NASA lost the $125 million Mars Climate Orbiter. Why, you might ask? Because one engineering team used imperial units while the other used metric units. One silent misconversion in a single piece of software and poof, a priceless satellite vaporized in the Martian atmosphere. So the moral of this story spread throughout all of engineering culture like a virus. One slip up, one tiny mistake, and you could be the one that burns millions of dollars. So this high stakes environment isn't just for rocket scientists, it's the baseline pressure for all software engineers. And it fuels imposter syndrome by showing up in 4 specific ways. First, the pace of change. A new AI framework drops every single week. There's a new cloud service, a new database technology, a new architecture pattern every month. The expectation is that you should know all of it. The reality is that nobody can. This constant fire hose of new information creates a persistent feeling of being behind, and you're not able to keep up, and that you're an imposter who missed the memo. Second is the abstract nature of our work. I mean, a carpenter builds a table and you can see it. You can physically touch it. We build systems out of pure thought. Our work is invisible, living on servers that we'll never see. And when you can't physically point to your labor and touch it, it's much harder for your brain to register accomplishment, making it easier to discount your own efforts. Third is the culture of public scrutiny. So code reviews, pull requests, open source contributions. Our work is constantly being judged line by line by our peers. So while this is meant to improve code quality, it feels like a constant performance review where every single mistake is put under a specific microscope and scrutinized. And it trains your brain to actually look for flaws as opposed to value. And fourth, the 10x engineer myth. This is the biggest one. It's the common belief in our industry that there are these mythical programming wizards who are 10 times more productive than everybody else. And if you're not one of these, then you're failing. So this creates an impossibly high expectation that not many people can meet, maybe 1 in a million or 1 in 100 million. So the framing for this is critical. I'm starting here because you have to understand that this feeling of being a fraud is not necessarily your fault. The game is rigged. You've been placed in an environment that is scientifically engineered to produce insecurity. So when you zoom out, you can see that the problem isn't your skill, it's the ecosystem you're living in. And accepting that is the first step to actually beating it. So now that you know the environment is the problem, we now need to talk about the single biggest lie that this same environment programs into you. The lie that keeps you trapped. This is the most important part of this video. The biggest lie that you have ever been told as a software engineer that is contributing to you feeling like an imposter is that your value is measured by your technical output. That your worth is a function of the complexity of your code, the elegance of your algorithms, or the number of lines that you commit. This is the conventional belief. And my contrarian take is that this is completely, fundamentally wrong. I've seen this time and time again myself. Focusing on your code is the very thing that is holding you back. Companies do not hire you to write code. They hire you to solve business problems. Code just happens to be the method that delivers that. It's just a tool. It's the hammer, not necessarily the house. The business doesn't care if you use a monolith or microservices, if it's in Rust or Python. They care specifically about outcomes. Making more money, saving more money, reducing risk, or whatever the case. So let me give you an example. Let's compare two engineers. We have engineer A, technical genius, the 10x developer. He spends 2 months building a perfectly architected, infinitely scalable, beautifully clean microservice, but it does not solve a business problem. So this project looks great on his resume, but it generates zero revenue, and his value is effectively zero. On the other hand, we have engineer B. He's a solid but not genius level developer. He talks to the sales team and learns that they spend about 10 hours a week manually copying and pasting lead data between two systems. So she spends a few days, let's assume 2 days, writing a boring script that automates this specific task. I mean, it's not the fanciest, the code isn't 10x by any means, but he just saved the company 40 hours of labor a month, every single month thereafter. So he didn't just write a script, he created a money-making machine. So let me ask you, who is more valuable here? It's engineer B, and it's not even close, it's not even a debate. He focused on the business problem, not the technical showmanship. So the framing here is that a complete reorientation of your professional identity. You are not a code writer. You are not a programmer, you are not a coder. You are a business problem solver who uses code as your primary tool. That's all you're doing. This is how you create that massive gap between your old expectation of being just a coder and the new reality of being a high-value consultant. This is the shift that takes my own clients from feeling like frauds to making over $50,000 a month. They stop selling code and they start selling outcomes. Now, I know this is a lot to take in just one shot. It's a deep psychological shift. So to actually help you do exactly that, I put together a free guide that breaks this down in a much easier and digestible manner. It's called the C2C Playbook, and it gives you the exact framework for finding these types of high-value business problems, and not only that, but also capitalizing on them. It's what my top clients used, it's what I've used, and you can grab it for free in the description below. Okay, so now you understand that the game isn't about writing code, it's about solving problems. But that point, as important as it is useless if you cannot communicate it. So this brings us to our third and final point, how to reframe your skills to 10x your income. So you need to stop talking about your work in terms of tasks and start talking about it in terms of outcomes. Software engineers almost always describe their work by listing the technologies that they used. And this is a huge fundamental mistake. It positions you as a commodity, a set of technical keywords on a resume. You need to adopt a simple formula I call the outcome-driven story. And it goes like this. I did action to solve business problem which resulted in a quantifiable outcome. So let's take a look at an example. A typical software engineer would say this on their resume or in an interview. I built a new user authentication flow using React, Node.js, and JWT. This is a task-based answer. It has no context, no value, no framing. Now, here's the same exact accomplishment, but reframed using the outcome-driven story that I was just talking about. I re-architected our user authentication flow to address high customer drop-off during sign-up, which decreased our bounce rate by 40% and increased new user signups by 2,000 per month. So do you feel the difference there? The first one says, hey, look at me, I can use React. The second one says, I can make you more money. Which one do you think a business or a hiring manager or a client will want? The framing is that this method makes your value undeniable. It takes you out of the pile of a million other software developers and puts you in a new category, a strategic business partner. So when you talk like this, you're no longer having a conversation about your hourly rate. You're having a conversation about the potentially millions of dollars in value that you can help create. So imposter syndrome can't survive in the face of this kind of tangible proof. So we walked through why our industry is designed to make you feel like a fraud. We completely dismantled the core lie that your value is just your code. And I even gave you the exact outcome-driven story framework to articulate your true value as a business problem solver. The final push is to remind you that we did, in fact, have reality beat expectations. You came here feeling like a 0.1x engineer in disguise, and the lasting impression that I wanted to leave with you is that you were never a fraud. You were never a 0.1x developer. You were just playing the wrong game with the wrong set of rules. The industry doesn't need another 10x programmer. It needs you, a high-value thinker who connects code to specific business results. And that's where the real money and respect are. And for real, if you want my help actually implementing this, book a free call with me down below. It's completely for free and the link is in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good one.